served to you fresh. We present to you local and international newspaper headlines for the day with in-depth analysis from seasoned professionals. Start your day the right way on 99.3 Nigeria Info.
99.3 Nigeria Info. Welcome back from the sports studios here on your number one news, talk, and sports radio station. We're back. It's time for us to take a look at the front pages. Those stories, big headlines making it to the front pages of the national dailies this morning. We will be looking through them. I am Sheriff Quadry.
And I'm Wemimo Adewuni. You're welcome to the show. You can watch us live on YouTube right now, anywhere you are. You can also leave us your comments on Twitter at Nigeria Info FM. We apologize you can't watch us on Facebook right now. We'll tell you when you can. You can also reach us on WhatsApp with any of the stories that interest you. And the number is 08095975805. We're looking at the papers today. We have The Guardian, who's a media partner. We have the Punch newspaper. We also have the Vanguard, the Daily Trust, all on my side of the table.
Yeah. We also have Daily Independent here, The Nation, as well as Daily Sun.
And Rotimi Sankore joins us this Friday morning. Good morning.
Morning.
Nigeria, let's start with this banner headline on The Guardian newspaper. UK court grants Nigeria stay of execution over $9.6 billion debt. There are three riders here on The Guardian. Ties reprieve to $200 million payment within 60 days. PNID lords legal window before asset seizure. How nation lost $157.5 billion to illicit financial flows by Buhari, all on The Guardian newspaper. Front page of the Punch, federal government suit, pay $250,000 in 14 days or forget appeal. This is coming from PNID. UK court ties Nigeria's appeal to $200 million security payment. Irish firm can seize assets if deadlines are missed. That's from the court. And the story also makes the banner headline of the Vanguard. It's the big story of the day. $9.6 billion award. UK court halts execution. OK's appeal. And there are three riders on the Vanguard. Ask federal government to pay $200 million security for stay of execution. Don't negotiate with PNID. Magu wants. Insists it's fraud. Fraud allegation against us a red herring, says PNID. Also, it's a big story on the Daily Trust. UK court allows Nigeria to appeal $9.6 billion judgment, demands $200 million security deposits.
From the front page of Daily Independent newspaper, $9.6 billion PNID award. UK court orders FG to make $200 million security payment. Riders asks FG to pay PNID $250 million cost of proceedings. Rules Nigeria can appeal $9.6 billion award. Grants Nigeria stay of execution. FG PNID welcome ruling. That's from the front page, just below the nameplate, Daily Independent newspaper. From The Nation, UK court stays execution on PNID's $9.6 billion judgment. Federal government to deposit $200 million. Judge OK's request to appeal verdict. The steps we will consider are to study the ruling and act in a way beneficial to the interests of the nation. Who is speaking? The Nation is the paper. If you like to read more, pick up the paper. From the Daily Sun newspaper, PNID FG gets execution stay order for $200 million. Riders, UK court grants FG leave to appeal. Don't negotiate with them, Magu.
Looks like the government is happy with this because the Minister of Justice says here on The Guardian, I quote him, that's Justice Abubakar Malami, I am pleased with today's development in the court as I see this as a positive resolution that constitutes an important step in the government's effort to defend itself in a fair and just process. We look forward to challenging the UK Commercial Court recognition of the tribunal's decision in the UK Court of Appeals, uncovering PNID's outrageous approach for what it is, a sham based on fraudulent and criminal activity developed to profit from a developing country. There you go. We're moving forward, aren't we? But we have a 60-day timeline now.
So that's the thing to underline. It's progress on the
But
side of the federal government, but 60 days. In 60 days, it could all go badly.
Right.
This idea that they will study the judgments to act in a way that is consistent with FG interests. Court ruling is clear. I don't understand that statement.
Let me read that
They've
statement
said
in case you missed it.
deposit
$200 million. Let me read that
Yes.
statement that Rotimi refers to. The Minister of Justice says, we will study the court rulings, exercise the right of appeal, and consider the legal options available to our disposal as it relates to the payment of $200 million in view of the 60 days window on our country. We don't listen to, no, is this right?
See,
Okay. Stipulated by the court, that's it.
I think the AG even made a mistake in issuing that statement. That is not a Nigerian court. You know, calling press conference to fight the court thing is
We're just used to it.
yes,
We're used to doing
it
that.
is irrelevant in the international world. You can do it in Nigeria. You know, the AG can go to the Senate screening and say that the national interest is superior to people's fundamental human rights. And when you ask him, but what is the national interest? Is the national interest the same as one or several individuals that are in the government?
Right.
Of course not. So already as an AG, he has misstated on the floor of the Senate, something that several senators and legal experts have pointed out is not right. Then you go to the international stage and go and make this kind of statement. If you then default, the court will not even blink, won't even hesitate to go ahead and say, oh yeah, seize assets.
And we can start counting. Today is day 1 of the 60 days. So we can start counting.
The statement
I hope we
was
don't
unnecessary.
stay too long.
Of course, every lawyer reviews judgment. This is taken. But you can't say you are reviewing to, see whether or not
we would need to pay.
You should comply.
60 days will be here before we blink.
I mean, this matter is not going away any soon.
No, it's
But
not.
honestly, if this same AG had done due diligence 4 years ago, we won't be here. If they had turned up in court, if they had not disregarded the court process the way they do when in Nigeria, I mean,
This is just like trying to salvage
Yes,
a bad pot of soup,
Look,
Just trying to salvage
it's not a good situation for Nigeria. That amount of money, given our current circumstances, I mean, it's not a good idea to pay over $9 billion to anybody. But we always have to ask, whose fault is it that we got in that position? Of all
like
the
some people have said, let's deal with this issue. Let's make sure we're not going to pay this money. Then we can come back and ask questions from all of those people.
No, you can ask the questions concurrently.
We've answered those questions before.
No, you can ask
the
questions concurrently because the statement by the AG that they will look at it, see whether it's that kind of, has the AG ever advised the president, governor, or anybody that disobeys a court order, my friend, go and obey the court order?
Right.
Indeed. Let's move on. Let's look at our next story here. Government raises another committee on 30,000 naira minimum wage. Labour leaders keep mum. That's from the Daily
This is
Sun
what people
newspaper.
refer to as unnecessary
From
problem.
The Nation newspaper, we have this one.
Just pay the money.
Rotimi,
Let's
just hold
move
on. Government to reconstitute minimum wage panel. That's from the Nation newspaper. Government to reconstitute minimum wage panel. The Nation for you. And from the Daily Independent newspaper, financial constraints delaying payment of minimum wage. That's from Ngige.
Let me tell you the interesting headlines. Very funny headline here. Daily Trust. It looks like the federal government is pleading with workers. Minimum wage, consider bad economic situation. Federal government tells workers. And on The Guardian, federal government will reconstitute minimum wage negotiating team as talks resume today. If you turn it over to page 3 of the Daily Trust, the Minister of Labour and Employment, Chris Ngige, yesterday told the organised labour to consider the bad economic situation of the country in its agitation for the implementation of the relativity consequential adjustment of the 30,000 new minimum wage. Speaking in Abuja while receiving a delegation of the Nigeria Labour Congress led by its President Ayuba Waba, he described the issue of the new minimum wage as very thorny. Let me quote him. In the course of that, tempers flared and there were misgivings and all of that. But finally, we got to a standpoint where that gave us 66.7% rise from 18,000 to 30,000. What we're saying is that we should try for all parties to agree that the economy is in doldrums, that the economy has some troubles, and therefore we have to cut our coat according to our clothes. That's the most important thing.
It is unnecessary problem. They should just pay the money. The economy is in doldrums. Has any branch of the executive at national and state level made a statement saying the economy is in doldrums?
We want to cut our coat according to our clothes.
So all the free food that they eat in all the governors' lodges and all those places, that they are now going to feed from their own salary. Mm-hmm. All the cars that have been bought or are about to be bought by the executive at federal and state level, the National Assembly and the state houses of assembly. I think it's only in Anambra State that the House of Assembly came out and said they are rejecting the Prado cars and they are going to go for Innocent. Even that, really, don't they have enough money to go and buy a car by themselves? No? Okay, let us say that was a good symbolic step on the part of the Anambra State House of Assembly. What of the others? You know, what of all the overhead and all the government officials don't pay electricity bill? They don't fuel their cars. They don't just put together all of them, state, national, ministry, everything. That money could just easily pay that minimum wage. I don't think people realize, and this is really important, the minimum wage is key. It is key to moving the economy forward. If people don't have disposable income, they can't buy anything.
But they're saying that
if you can't buy anything, the factories that manufacture will collapse.
Well,
so Ngige does not understand economics. That's what I'm saying. The economy is in doldrums and people don't have disposable income.
But it is not Ngige that will pay these workers.
No, but he's the Minister of Labour and he's making a statement that any political economist 101 will tell him, the way to grow economy is for people to be able to purchase.
Right.
You can't purchase if your salary by day 5 or day 10 you are borrowing money to go to work.
I assume he's trying to speak for the government. You know, as usual, the government will try to look for every way not to spend more, while the labor unions will want more. But he's trying to negotiate and say, let's come to a middle point.
All those arguments were made when they agreed to the 30,000.
Absolutely. So setting up a new panel is going to do what exactly?
Look, in this country, the key things that affect people: health, food, water, shelter, transport. When they say half the population is living in extreme poverty, it means you are one sickness away from everything ending if it is more than malaria. I mean, just look at social media any given day. You see people appealing for support for this, for that. It is now a regular joke in Nigeria that when school starts, everybody starts begging and borrowing. Why?
It's even happening everywhere on social media, like you said. But let's move on to talk about the APC. No rift between Buhari or Shimbajo. APC governors declare on the front page of the Vanguard newspaper, also on the Punch. PDP behind Tinubu, Oshiomhole, El Rufai's 2023 posters. This is coming from the APC. Interesting. On the Punch newspaper, also on the Guardian, APC governors, others say there is no crack in presidency. PDP distances itself from Osinbajo's travels. Here is the headline on the front page of the Guardian newspaper.
Well, it's here on the front page of the Daily Independent newspaper. Osinbajo, no cracks in the presidency. APC governors speaking. Just below the nameplate of the Nation, no crack in the presidency, says APC governors. That's from the Nation newspaper. And a similar one here from the Daily Sun. APC governors deny division in presidency. Rotimi, it looks like the APC governors finally, they are awake to intervene in what is going on. Is this a rescue mission of some sort?
Well, it's a rescue mission for 2023 because people are now beginning to realize inside the APC that they shouldn't start now losing the election even before the official race starts. There is a faction, we shouldn't mess around here. There is a faction in the APC that is attacking the vice president. They are doing it collaborating with other people that are outside the APC. Any seasoned political observer has come to that conclusion in the last 1 week. Good thing, for some of the absurdities, the vice president has defended himself. You can see at least one national newspaper apologizing profusely for, remember when we were discussing it earlier in the week, and I said it's not exactly clear at that point what was happening, but that the vice president is a senior advocate and he's a professor of law.
And he actually went the legal way.
Yes, and so within a few days, he went to court. So that's a big lesson.
No, he proposed going to court.
Well, look,
they only served them a letter to say if you don't retract it, they will go to court.
So it's a process. He stated what his intention was.
Right.
And he said he will waive his immunity to appear in court. So it wasn't just retract. It was, this is what we are in
and
process
this is what
of
we will
doing.
Do if you don't retract.
Not what they will do. This is what they are in process.
No, okay, so there are two separate cases. So I read that letter. One was to the newspaper.
Right.
And the other was for those who were alleged in the newspaper, including Timmy Frank, who came up the next day to say, I still stand by what I say. And the vice president is saying, I don't mind waiving my immunity to pursue this to a conclusion. But for the media house, it was retract or we take it to court.
But they've instructed their lawyer already now. When you instruct your lawyer, you are ready to go all the way.
What the lawyer sent to them was retract or we take it to
I'm
court.
telling you what is happening behind the scene.
For which of the parties? For the media house or for those who are alleged?
Look, I have more than I don't even know how many lawyer friends. Many of them are sound professors. By the time you instruct your lawyer and say, write to that guy, and say so, they are ready to go to court already.
Yes, we're saying they are ready to go to court, but they are not in court yet. That's what I'm saying.
Everything is ready to go,
but they are not in court.
It is a process. That's what I'm saying. It's 1, 2, 3. So it's not that they will go in the future. The Vanguard lawyer is not a child. He knew exactly what will land on their desk by Friday morning.
Exactly. So it was retract or we go to court. They retracted. So Vanguard will not be charged to court. Let's
not go around in
That's
circles
what
about
the
it. Let's not go around
said.
in circles. The process had been set in motion and they knew it, and that is why they retracted. And it's a big lesson for all these people that, people that just go about making frivolous, false and malicious allegations against people. The vice president has shown the way. People should be ready to face serious legal action.
But tying to this, on the front page of the Punch newspaper, 90 billion poll cash, Osinbajo cannot drop immunity, says SAN. So the argument is still on about can the vice president, who's got immunity, take anybody to court?
But remember that we had this discussion of air.
We're now on air.
So
they didn't know what we said of air.
Okay, so what they are saying is this has a constitutional provision. So my understanding, and I've asked a few lawyers about it who know better than me, and they say it's a constitutional provision. So you can't waive, it's like you can't waive your human rights.
All right.
You can't
say I don't want
I don't want my human rights. I'm prepared to be a slave. They should buy me and start flogging me. And the state should not protect me. I went into it willingly. You can't do that. So, it needs a process to be done. But look, if the vice president had then turned up in court with his lawyer and say, okay, so I'm here, the judge would then have to say, sir, actually, we appreciate your presence.
But we can't.
But you see, we can't waive it because the law says. Then he will just say, okay, his lawyer should proceed. He's going to sit there through the case.
However, one of the lawyers put up a case on this, quoted a Supreme Court ruling in a matter between Bola Tinubu versus IBM Securities PLC. And the Supreme Court ruling then was that, I quote, a person holding any executive office that has immunity cannot waive it. So the Supreme Court
we've
has
agreed
ruled
to it more or less now.
Yeah.
We've agreed. So the judge will most likely say, sir, madam governor, madam president or Mr. President, Mr. Governor, we are sorry, you can't waive. It's the person that would then say, okay, I will sit in the court.
So here is my own side of this whole story. An American can tell any inquiry that I plead the fifth if you're asking a question and he doesn't want to answer, particularly if a government official can say, I plead the fifth, that I'm at liberty not to answer you based on the provision of the Constitution. Now, because
that was a very complicated argument which we can't litigate here in a few minutes. There is a reason why that fifth exists.
Is it a constitutional provision or not?
It's an amendment to the Constitution.
Right, but it's a constitutional provision.
Yes, it's an amendment to the Constitution, so it's a constitutional provision.
So if we're waiving, if they can waive it, why can't we waive it? I mean, yes, it's provided for us in the Constitution that
that is why I said it is a complicated process which we can't fully litigate here.
Let's quickly move on.
So you can testify. You can testify, say, in the American Senate under legal advice. If you waive, it's a different situation. There is a process for waiving it.
All right, let's move on. Court threatens to jail DSS chief over failure to release Shore. That's from Daily Independent here.
I have a big smile on my face on this one. It's also on the Punch. Court disobedience. Showore wants DSS boss jailed. It's also on the Vanguard. Despite meeting bail conditions, DSS yet to release Showore, says Falano. The story is also across many other papers today. Remember, just some days ago, Chief Justice of Nigeria, Tanko, came out to say zero tolerance for disobedience to court orders. Now, one court order is being flouted. So will the DSS boss be arrested? I saw a letter sent forward to him to say contempt of court. Will he be arrested? It's going to be pretty interesting.
Well, look, let me just do promo. Join us on Public Square at 4 p.m. this afternoon on 99.3.
Don't miss it.
Where we are going to discuss this rule of law matter and obedience of court orders. Look, I've already seen all kinds of jokes and memes. Am I saying it well? Is it memes?
Yes, memes.
Flying around and saying, look, somebody should just issue order for seizure of DSS assets.
So they will obey the court order. These are very interesting times.
Nigerians are so funny.
Yeah, we make a joke out of almost
Nigerians
anything.
are so inventive about, but it is a joke on a serious matter. If a law enforcement agency does not obey the law, and that is the point that Professor Shoyinka was trying to point out some weeks ago. If a law enforcement agency does not obey the law, are they inviting other people to do the same? When people say, well, we went to court for protection, the court gave order, the law enforcement disobeyed it, can they reasonably expect other citizens who have gone to seek protection to then continue obeying the law?
It doesn't actually.
It's a really
then,
big question which we need
it
to answer
doesn't work
in this
that
country.
way. They disobey court orders, but they expect you to obey.
So
I was saying it earlier this week.
So that's the point Professor Shoyinka was raising very consistently. Is it an invitation to anarchy?
Right. If everyone then disobeys court orders, would have a problem.
It is something that the legal departments of all security agencies need to meet and discuss. And so, I mean, it is best for them to come out and say they will always obey court orders and the law. I mean, just look at even NEPA and sorry, I'm sorry I'm calling them NEPA, but that's how everybody understands it. when they go to get their money, whether it's a code disco or any other disco, and they go to barracks, they go to government offices, and those ones say they are not paying.
There's nothing they can
We
do.
dare you to come and disconnect.
Right.
And those ones are like, our biggest debtors are government people and security agencies. And so, what are they expected to do?
Well, let's keep talking about this. This is not going anywhere soon. I'm just rubbing my palms here and I'm asking myself, will the DSS boss be arrested for contempt of court? It's going to be very, very interesting.
In more developed countries, it has happened.
But let's join Rotimi Sankore in Public Square at later this evening at 4 p.m. to hear more about this. We have to go now. When we come back, we're taking you right into the center of the prisons so you can know what goes on behind those walls. One of the journalists at the Wole Soyinka Center will be joining us at 8 o'clock. So we'll be looking at a story that she did behind the prison walls. Join us for this just after the break. I am Wemimo Adewuni.
I'm Sharif Quadry.
We'll see you soon.